understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com. John Bill Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call the John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose, let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences. Gaze at the moon until I lose my senses. I can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and happy Easter Monday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here and Stel Ponticus over there.
Howdy, Jamie.
Howdy, Stel. How was your Easter?
It was fine, thank you. How was yours?
Beautiful. Dude, I pulled off I just put the pictures up on the Facebook page, on the Jamie Allman Facebook page. I pulled off the bunny cake, so... And I grew up eating because my mom always made a bunny cake. And, you know, my mom, of course, always understands the reason for the season, you know. But that didn't mean she didn't have a little fun with it, too. And the bunny cake was a staple in our family all the years growing up, and she's not making it anymore. So I made one.
So I've got to ask you, since we talked about it on Friday,
yeah,
from my Greek perspective, how's the lamb? Did you guys
do lamb? Was good.
Good.
I roasted it. I roasted a leg of lamb. It was about a 4-pound leg of lamb, just enough. And so roasted it beautifully in a pan of red wine, rosemary.
Good for you.
Thyme, little sage from my garden. Put some slits in there and stuff the garlic into the meat. And turned out great. Rare. It only takes about an hour and 15 minutes to roast one of those babies. It was good.
Good job.
You know what? Here's the thing, though. I told you maybe I'd bring some in for you, but it's all gone.
I knew it would be.
It's only 4 pounds, but you know. And the bunny cake is good. It turned out great. Some coconut, but it looks a little more mangy than my mom's always did. But anyway, I hope all of you had a great Easter. And as you know by now, of course, you know Pope Francis always did things his way. So he figured, you know, I'll do the Resurrection Day thing, and then the day afterwards, I'll go to heaven. That's what I'm going to do, and that is where Pope Francis is now, as the discussion about who will replace him takes place. And of course, there are people who are, you know, assessing his legacy and that kind of thing. And I think there were some problems. I had many disagreements with him. But nonetheless, that's going to be a thing now. And the only determination is who is going to replace him And what kind of person Catholic will that be? Will it be a conservative? And I happen to have worked for a year or so with one of the possible conservative contenders, and that's Cardinal Raymond Leo Burke. But let's put it this way, people. You know, in this globalist world, I have to tell you, Americans really aren't welcome, you know? Globalists always talk about the need for diversity, when it actually means that Americans aren't welcome, regardless of how much we have spent on them and how much time we've taken to be good to them and how much money from our treasury we've given to them and how many people have died for them. We're just unwelcome in the global community. So I highly doubt that the next pope is going to be an American pope. It's very, very unlikely. Although there is a liberal American pope, and I do believe the next pope is going to be liberal. They're not going to go in the other direction. I'm not quite sure it's at the point where there is a pendulum swing effect at this point. I think the Catholic Church is decidedly going the liberal way. I don't think but sometimes it's different. Sometimes there is a way that it's not like in politics where sometimes you have this corrective force. You know, you have a very, very dramatically liberal president, then replaced by a very, very conservative president. That is what happens in America a lot. But in the papal world, I'm not quite sure that's going to take place. Cardinal Joseph Tobin, and he is a guy who's very, very, he used to be conservative, but he's very, very liberal. So that's about as American, close to American pope as we can get. Although there are always some surprises. You never know what's going to happen. But I think the likelihood that some of these more conservative people, whether it be from the Netherlands, is one. There's a guy from the Congo. There's a guy from Hungary. There's a guy from the USA named Raymond Burke. Guy from Ghana, Cardinal Peter Turkson. I do believe there's a strong possibility that the next pope is going to be from Africa. But we'll see how that goes. And we've got a guy from the Philippines who's a possibility. He's a liberal. Guy from Italy. Another guy from France. And another guy from Malta, actually. Spain. And as I said, the USA. So we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. But Pope Francis is dead at the age of 88. We'll follow up with that. My buddy Lou Tevlin and I will noodle over that in just a little bit. And your comments on the Facebook page are welcome as well, or on Rumble or whatever. And we'll certainly take them and highlight them. In the meantime, want to talk a little politics. Oh, by the way, did you see the Kristi Noem who has Secret Service protection? Department of Homeland Security sitting in a restaurant, and a guy takes her purse. Now, I know that they looked at video and everything and saw the guy taking her purse, which, by the way, had $3,000 in cash in it. Like, dang, Kristi, you're walking around loaded. What the heck's going on with you? I don't know why Kristi Noem would need $3,000. I know it's always good to have cash on hand, but why she would need $3,000 is beyond me. I have no idea. But they took her badge, everything else. And my question is, you have Secret Service protection. What the hell is the Secret Service doing? And while she's at a restaurant, for crying out loud. I mean, a very public place. If somebody can get as close to taking her purse off of her chair, they could certainly get close enough to hurt her. I don't know about the Secret Service people. We'll see. We've already been on record as having a few lapses here and there, wouldn't you say? Exactly. Jim Talent, former senator. So happy to have you on the show with me today. How you doing, man?
I'm fine, Jamie. What you just said about Noam reminds me of a story in my own life. So Brenda and I are going out together. This is before we're married, and we're going someplace uptown in Chicago. And this was before the days when you use credit cards for everything. Okay, so we're driving uptown, and I said, I'm a little worried I may not have enough cash. And she says, oh, don't worry. She says, I'm loaded. I said, oh, fine. So
she said that? I'm loaded?
Yeah, she says, so we get into the restaurant, and I said, she says, "How much money do you have?" And she looks in her. She says, "I got $8," and that was loaded for her, and not 3,000. So I couldn't help but laugh at the time.
So the women
yeah, it's a
always have the
strange
cash.
story. Yeah, well, I don't know. Not my wife. She doesn't. And today, of course, everybody uses credit cards.
Well,
You
that
know,
I
I'm
wonder.
at the airport, and you know, you pay for a bottle of water with a credit card. Of
Oh,
course, they
yeah.
cost so much. Yeah.
Some people don't even take cash, for crying out loud. But did you
Yeah.
remember the Diners Club card? Remember that one?
Yeah, I never had one. I mean, or the gold card or anything. I wouldn't have qualified. Besides which, I'm with Groucho Marx. I don't want to be in any club that would have me as a member. You know, so if it's one of these elite things,
Yeah.
I never bothered with that.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, it's one of those things. Well, that and traveler's checks. You remember those too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I
So
took those once, but when you fill them out, you had to like fill out a duplicate or something to keep. It's been many years now, but yeah, I took traveler's checks.
yeah, I know we were going to talk a little bit about Iran. I want to follow up on something though that's happening, since you are familiar with the situation with the Pentagon and everything else, and defense. And it seems like there's a real push to try and encourage some kind of coup against Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. It just seems to me that's what's going on, because they keep on circling the wagons on all these things and blaming him for the fact that his people are leaking, which doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, there is disarray there, but I don't think it's Pete Hegseth who's responsible for that.
No, I don't think so either. A couple things I think I would say about it. One is to caution your listeners, I would not believe anything. I mean, literally anything that you read in the popular press about this. In fact, I'd be skeptical about just about anything that purports to describe internal workings in the Trump administration. Okay. Second, this latest business, he has a group chat with several members of his family. He's not conveying classified information. I don't see a problem with that. When you're the Secretary of Defense, you got to be careful about discussing government business of any kind, with people. But they're close members of your family. I don't think that's a big deal. The only thing about this that would bother me, if it's true, is that it does sometimes happen that in an administration with strong-minded people, where the president has deliberately picked people who come from different points of view on various policy issues, which that's President Trump's style. That's what he's done. He doesn't have people who all recommend the same thing to him. He wants divergent points of view on until he makes a decision, and then he wants everybody obviously to support his decision. Sometimes they will maneuver to embarrass those that they disagree with. I'm not saying that's happening, but as I look at it, I think to myself, if there's one thing I'd be concerned about is if that's happening. Now, I think if it is, the president will only put up with it for so long, and I have a lot of confidence in his leadership ability, so I'm not particularly worried about it.
Yeah,
but it's just. The only issue is to the extent it impairs, it takes Hegseth's attention, so he can't, do his job or do the things that are really important. But he knows that.
I don't know why these guys would leak. These guys are people he trusted. He worked with them on in a lot of these veterans organizations and things, and he invites them and gets them into his staff, and they wind up leaking. I have never understood how they could possibly think they could benefit from leaking information to the news media.
It's just a very common thing in Washington. Now, I never did it, and you're in the news media, so I didn't. I mean, if I had opinions and I wanted to air them, I got on the air and I aired them. I didn't say what other people have been telling me, and that really worked to my benefit over time. I'm not bragging. I just said people knew I wasn't that kind of person.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of people in Washington are, and the proclivity is not limited to one side of the political spectrum or another. So it's a constant problem, and different presidents handle it different ways. And again, the president will get it if there is this problem, the president will get it under control.
Yeah, yeah. And Jim, I normally it really takes a lot for me to kind of be a little wide-eyed over something President Trump does policy-wise because I trust the guy and I trust his instincts so much. But there's one thing that surprised me over the weekend, even me, who it will real honestly just generally all in, and that's the plan to close these embassies all over the world, including in Africa, which I know is kind of becoming more of a dicey place by the day. I know that there are American troops over there, and I know that there's a lot of security issues over there. So I'm wondering what would be the pros and the cons of closing as many embassies as they plan to close, or consulates,
Jamie,
or whatever.
you have the better of me. I have not read that story. I will say generally that lots of times it's security concerns. You'll downgrade, from an embassy to a consulate, or you'll shift the embassy business over to a neighboring country because of security concerns. I suppose it could be efficiency concerns also, just trying to save money. They're trying to get as much money as they can out of the discretionary budget, which is a very good thing to do because we have to reduce the deficit. I mean, Trump's people are really correct when they say that they were handed, after 4 years of what we had, they were handed a very dicey fiscal situation, these enormous deficits that are difficult to fund, an economy that was shaky, and they're trying to address a bunch of different problems at once. But no, I haven't read that story.
Well,
so if there's something
is it really necessary to have an embassy in every country, especially when you are in Africa? Because I know for a fact that a couple of the embassies will close in Africa, but be then centralized in another African country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it'll be a three-prong embassy.
It's not necessary. I would say that in the vast majority of cases, it's important to have representation and have presence, and just to collect, to be effective in collecting intelligence. And also in this case, because the Chinese are so involved in the third world, in Africa and Central America, and they line those countries up for diplomatic influence. They work on resource extraction. They attempt to corrupt elites and that sort of thing. So I think it's important that we do have representation and that it be effective, whatever form it takes. Now, Rubio is working on that, particularly in Latin and South America, which is more important. You've seen everything we've been doing in Panama, for example. And as the administration gets all its sub-cabinet and ambassadorial, appointments in place, we'll see more what their plan is in these areas. But I have an assignment. I need to go back and read about that.
Yeah, I don't think it. I mean, obviously, whenever you read something that like this, whoever's writing it is doing it with an alarmist tone and not a real reason type of approach to it. And so sometimes you do have to take on the other side of it and say, okay, what really actually is wrong with this? And that's really what I wanted to get from you. And you mentioned Marco Rubio, and I've kind of been talking about this over the past couple of weeks. Wow, is he an impressive Secretary of State at a number of levels? First of all, he seems all in on the President Trump policy and the Make America Great Again policy, world policy. And he's also doesn't shy away from making comments. And if there's anybody who I have seen and am more impressed with the transformative nature of their role, it's Marco Rubio.
Yeah, it makes me feel good because it vindicates some things I've said about cabinet officers for a long time, that the number one skill they need to have is communications ability, the ability to represent the administration's policy to the press, to the Congress, to the public, et cetera. Also, the ability to represent the equities and the views of their own department within the administration. So they get around to these cabinet meetings. I mean, that's the most visible part of it, but most of it is done in, interagency meetings or discussions with the White House staff and that sort of thing. Then the second thing is you really need to understand the policy that your department deals with because you're contributing to that. I mean, the policies made obviously the president's the final decision maker, but policies made cooperatively between the agencies that are responsible and then the White House staff. That's how it's done. And Rubio is great at both. Rubio also brings to the table a knowledge of the kind of thing we were talking about before. He understands Washington. And so he has a lead, if you will, on Hexit. You knew with Hexit that there were going to be some of these issues because, he hasn't had positions like this before. So it's a bigger learning curve for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, you knew that. I think he understands it. He's learning anyway, right? I expect that to settle down. But Rubio has been, I think, great. Waltz has been great, and that's why I say, don't believe what you're reading. I think the president has full confidence in Mike Waltz, and so the administration has a lot of really, really strong people. It's a different area, but I was telling somebody over the weekend, just in a private conversation, how much I expect out of Jay Bhattacharya at the NIH.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're gonna see medical research, I think, fixed, and boy, it needs to be fixed.
Yeah,
I mean, it really does. So he has a lot of strong people, and the ones, there are going to be some people who over time can't cut it. I mean, there always are, and
we're just getting burned out. Bhattacharya is a great one. I can't wait. Here's a guy who the people, they tried to ruin his career, and it's great to see him surviving. And speaking of surviving, I think Rubio and Rand Paul, it seems, are the only two survivors of the 2015 lineup for 2016, I think.
Well, when you talk about who else was on that DS?
Jeb Bush and what's his face, the New Jersey guy who I forgot his name already.
Yeah, Christie.
Yeah, Christie.
Scott Walker was on there.
Oh,
I liked and still like Scott Walker a lot.
Yeah.
I hope that he finds a way back into government at some point. I remember he was there, and we live in times that change quickly, Jamie.
We do. That is for sure. Well, Jim, I know we were going to talk Iran, but I gotta move on. But I think we talked where I think we needed to be this time around. So
yeah, that's why you're the guy running the show. And,
well,
always good to be with you.
It's great to be with you too. I hope you had a great Easter. Everybody in town, all that stuff.
Same to you. And I'm sorry about the death of the Pope. And always have. I'm not Catholic myself, as you know, but I do have a lot of confidence in the wisdom of the church as a whole. So I'm hoping and praying for a good result for you all.
All right, my friend. I appreciate that very much, and I hope you have a great rest of your Easter Monday. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good, Jamie.
Yes, Jim Tell. Sometimes I really can I say this and then just deny that I said it. Because when Jim was talking about the Pope, and then I'm not Catholic. I was going to say the Pope isn't either.
I would agree with you.
I know. But I shouldn't say that because it's like too early. But it almost came out of my mouth, and then I figured I had to say that with all due respect, obviously, to the life and death of Pope Francis. But I had to say that. I was almost like
there were so many aspects of him and his career that I disagreed with.
Yeah.
And I'm on board with you. I understand.
I think, that South American Jesuit influence,
Mm-hmm.
the Argentinian influences, I think has been very negative, but we'll see how it goes. See whether or not that writes with the next, when the next puff of smoke comes out the Vatican chimney. Yeah. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. And let me tell you, it's not only 3 martini time, it's poly time too. Poly time. This is so much better than mud jacking. It's a longer lasting solution for all of your concrete problems. And restoration services are available. And you guys have probably been able to see, because, man, we had a really rough weather and then this wet spring. And you've got some driveways coming up. You've got some patios, cattywampus, walkways. I mean, anything you need can be corrected through a good old-fashioned poly jacking. And that's for sure through Poly Time. Carvin Hughes is a Marine. This is a veteran-owned business, and Carvin is supporting free, common-sense, conservative radio here at the Allman Report. I think for all of your concrete leveling, all the work that you need done, get it all set, get it all righted before you start enjoying it in the summertime with Polytime. Go ahead and check it out on the web. It's polytime.com. It's polytime.com.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they were very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Company, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL. You're listening to the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Catch my breath.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, really happy to be with you. And that is Stel Ponticus running the turntable. You got into that Doobie Brothers at the end there, man. I was enjoying that thoroughly.
Great song from them, Long Train Running.
I mean, sometimes, as somebody mentioned earlier when they were talking about you and your music prowess, and they're like, some of this stuff I haven't heard in a long time. Rick Pogue was.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
I haven't
right.
heard it either. And then when you hear it, because back in the day, it'd be funny because you'd hear music, you'd hear these songs on the radio incessantly, and then when you've taken a step back, you don't hear them anymore, and then they suddenly pop up out of nowhere, like from Stel's fingers, and like, man, that is a good song. I mean, Without Love, probably they played it like every 5 minutes on the radio. And it kind of became wallpaper until then you really actually listen to it. And you're like, man. Plus, my headphones are really turned up really loud because I'm deaf. So I like that. All right, really quickly before I get to my buddy Lou Tevlin to talk about the transformation and changes in the Catholic Church. Speaking of transformation, so last week, remember, we were talking about Ann Coulter. Well, it just so happens that Ann Coulter now suddenly, because she was like so annoyingly anti-Trump and all this kind of stuff. And so now she's apparently just all in on everything. And sometimes you don't know whether or not this is just convenient for her or whatever. You know how people pop back into the thing and they want to be, famous again, and they realize they played the wrong hand and lost, and now they want to kind of crawl back. So anyway, here is Ann Coulter being interviewed about her past and what she's thinking now, and check it out.
I want to show viewers just 30 seconds from
C-SPAN.
Just a couple months before election 2024, and we were talking about your views on Donald Trump being reelected. I want to show viewers what you had to say back then.
Ms. Coulter, who are you going to vote for in this election?
Well, Donald Trump, because if he loses, he will be running again in 4 years. And then he will have lost 4 successive elections for us. And truthfully, I really like his choice of J.D. Vance, which I had recommended back in May. Can't trust Trump as far as I can throw him, but I do trust J.D. Vance to care about the left behind people.
And Coulter, what was it that caused this change from your opinion to today? Was it a J.D. Vance pick? Is it the people that Donald Trump is surrounding him with? Or is it he's just unexpectedly running the country different than he did last time?
Oh my gosh, is it different? I mean, all of those things. But apparently you don't want to make Donald Trump mad because, I don't even want to remember the things I didn't like about him first term because I'm so ecstatic second term. But, he won in 2016 with regular Americans, with the working class, with the left behind, with people like me and all of my friends in New York who've been waiting for a Republican candidate or any candidate our entire lives to run on the basket of issues that Trump was running on. No more permanent wars, immigration, and bringing manufacturing and trade back to America. Those were the 3 big things Donald Trump ran on in the end of political correctness.
And then, of course, thanks to the criticism of Ann Coulter and others, everybody was egged on to try to ruin his first term, and they did. And I think Ann Coulter now is finally back in the flow of things, and thankfully maybe her support will not be part of the groupthink that Orange Bad Man has to go. So Ann Coulter now is officially back in MAGA. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother from another mother, Lou Tevlin, joining me. You all knew Lou from back in the day on Channel 2, or was it Channel 4? What am I thinking? Or was it both?
I worked at 4, 5, and 2 and CamWax Radio.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of that whole thing, J.C. Corcoran's going to be joining the News Talk team here. He's got a Wayback Machine show, which is going to be cool. And who knows?
Really? Okay.
You might make some of the Wayback clips because he's doing all kinds of stuff. And so I'm going to have him on the show tomorrow, and because he and I worked together for a couple of years.
Absolutely.
And it was a highlight of my career, actually.
All-star team.
Yeah. Even if we do differ politically, it doesn't really matter. He's a good dude, and we've had a lot of good times together. So anyway, I just want to point that he'll be on tomorrow, guys, at 12:30, just in case you want to know. All right, Lou. As a devout Catholic, you've always been a huge supporter here in St. Louis of the Catholic Church. Know a lot about the operations, that kind of thing. Your reflections on the passing of Pope Francis, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, it's not unexpected news. Interestingly, a day after he meets with J.D. Vance, but I showed up at Easter. It surprised a lot of people in St. Peter's Square. So, I'm no authority, but I am devout and love, and that's one of the great things about St. Louis. I mean, it was named after King Louis IX, who was a saint.
Yeah.
Right. And our fleur-de-lis logo for St. Louis is, he chose the fleur-de-lis, King Louis did, because it was nature's closest thing to the crucifixion. So I think in terms of St. Louis and this Pope, I mean, I would, my prayers would be answered if Cardinal Dolan in New York was selected as the next Pope, because we need somebody that can communicate, is affable, and is knowledgeable, and can cross over so many. Every Sunday morning out here in Del Mar, California, I'm up at 7:15 to stream his mass from New York, and we need that kind of person. I just think that the Pope Francis, perpetual light shine upon him, but I think he rigged the next voting. He changed the Cardinal College, as I understand it, and it probably means that they'll select someone like him, much more liberal, because some of the things just go against, you guys in St. Louis went through that all things new.
Oh yeah. I mean,
how about all things old, the things that have stood the test of time?
Yeah, and they're getting rid of the Latin Mass and all that kind of thing. I mean, it was really just he was really and he kicked Cardinal Burke out of the Vatican and all this kind of stuff. So he was a little bit of an authoritarian there. And I'm glad you mentioned Cardinal Dolan. It's interesting, Lou, because he's not on this list, but of course, no one ever knows who it's going to be. So this list is just something somebody drummed up and noodling on. But Cardinal Dolan, I was trying to figure out, like, for instance, they're not going to choose like some outwardly conservative person. Cardinal Burke is on the list, but I doubt that's going to happen. And I don't know where they're really going to choose somebody really as left as Francis. And so Dolan, even though obviously he's a fairly close with Donald Trump and he does come across as a fairly conservative guy, he's not, really stridently political. And I think that's a good thing that you point that out. He's not stridently political.
And in addition to that, you're so right, Jamie. In addition to that, he often talks about, in his homily, he'll start off and say, "Hey, this is our Jewish friends. This is Passover. We welcome them in and pray together with them, and our Muslim friends. He's a uniter in that sense, but he's also very St. Louis, very conservative, very Catholic. Obviously, and a kind of guy that would warm the hearts of the world, I think. And he would bring that St. Louis Irish Catholic joy to the world, really. And I think we need that now more than ever. And like I said, it would be a real prayer answered for me.
Yeah, I agree. And, I was saying earlier that I wasn't sure that an American Pope would be in the offing at all, because globalists are not unlike the people who always tout diversity here in America. For globalists, they want to be globalists, but America is not invited. And the people who promote so-called diversity in America, white people aren't invited to that.
Right.
So there's kind of a similarity in how they approach things. And so that's why I'm thinking there probably won't be an American Pope, even though that would be totally awesome.
Well, how about America? If America's not welcome, do it without our funds.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about, since they made such a big deal of finally somebody from the Americans, how about North America? I remember, you'll appreciate this. When I had the house in Ladue on Magnolia for Dad, we had a viewing room, and I had set up there my high resolution Quasar TV.
Oh, Quasar. Yeah.
Yeah. From Uncle Leonard.
Quasar. Quasar.
Yeah, exactly. And we were watching EWTN, and Pope Francis was returning to South America, and he was in Rio de Janeiro. And the one of the great lines of all time, the commentator on EWTN said, "Now this, Pope Francis just lands in South America, and he performs his first miracle. He gets Argentinians, or he gets people in Rio, Brazilians, to love Argentinians." There's a coaster train going by here.
What is that? Oh, the coastal train, huh? Yeah, Lou is in San Diego out there. So yeah, dude. Whatever happened to that Quasar TV? By the way,
I still have it.
Do you really?
Has it in her garage? Yeah.
Golly.
Yep. I'll show it to you when I get back to St. Louis. Still works.
Does it really?
Yeah. It was high resolution for its time, and I got Vince Coleman and John Tudor to do commercials for Uncle Leonard, and that was part of the compensation.
Good old John Tudor, man. What was John Tudor really as crabby as he appeared?
Yeah, well, he's a waspy Bostonian from Peabody, Mass.
Right.
And he had a very dry sense of humor.
Right. Yeah.
We're going through the drive-through at spring training one time, and the lady at the counter at the drive-through said, "Could you pull up a little bit, and till we get your food?" He goes, "Why?" She goes, "Well, don't you want it hot and fresh?" He goes, "No, I want it cold and stale like it always is."
Yeah, I always thought
the dry sense of humor.
I always thought Tudor was a great pitcher. I really liked him.
Oh my gosh! Well, he's a Cardinal Hall of Famer.
Yeah, right. And now we're 4 games. Now Lou's also was a sportscaster, so now we're 4 games out, dude. What's up?
Well, it's a long season.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Well,
I feel like we
wish,
should have we need a closer. We need somebody who puts the lights out, and I don't think we've had one of those in a long time. Maybe Lee Smith.
I'm watching Cardinal baseball every day here with the Padres. You got Mike Schultz managing.
Yeah.
And just like George Kissel told them, they had double steals, steal bases, laying down bunts, sacrifice bunts, a closer, lights out closer, and starting pitching. So, and they got some good pop too. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Cardinal baseball in Padre uniform.
It's true. All right, buddy.
Schultz was only manager of the year. So
yeah, I know. That's what we do that's what we've been doing every postseason is watching former Cardinals in playoffs and World Series.
Yep.
So
Jamie, I do want to say one thing. Again, I'm no authority, but I've been to the Vatican a few times. My mom had me take my little sister when she was 15, Amy, to the canonization of Philippine Duchenne because my mom and all my sisters went to Sacred Heart School.
Yeah.
And Rose Philippine Duchenne, who wanted to go out on the Indian reservations, but Bishop DeBerg wouldn't let her. She was like 4 foot nothing. And so she started the Sacred Heart Order of Nuns from the old cathedral there.
Oh, wow.
And I was a lectern at the old cathedral for a long time. And we have great history there. And I went to at that canonization. I'm telling you, I had been to the Vatican twice before. And I didn't expect this, but when Pope John Paul, now Saint John Paul, walked in, it was electric. It was a spiritual awakening for me, and I probably needed it, and that's why my mom sent me. And I wish and pray that the world gets that kind of leader, because of course he and Reagan brought down communism.
Yeah.
And Cardinal Dolan would fit that mold perfectly, and
Totally
we deserve
agree.
it as North Americans to save the church. Because much like the last election, everything's on the line, I think, now.
Well, I went to Mass. I went to Saturday night vigil at the very church that Cardinal Dolan used to be the pastor of.
Oh, Little Flower?
Little Flower, yeah. That's my
Perfect.
parish, so yeah.
Perfect. I'm glad they didn't close it.
Me too. They kind of closed the school, but I'm glad they didn't close the church.
Well, this whole thing, I remember talking to Father Quirk down at the old cathedral when I think it was Bishop Barron's great cinematic video came out welcoming Catholics home it was Christmas time.
Yeah.
At the same time, Pope Francis started, and yet he changed the word. So, when you think of home, it's familiar, it's comfortable, it's loving. At the same time, the words in the Mass changed to unfamiliar, uncomforting, and I don't know what under my roof means.
Yeah.
So Dolan would also be the great communicator and uniter and joyful Irish spirit, Irish Catholic spirit that the world needs. I just think we're at a very crucial time.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, it's been great talking to you. Lou Tevlin, Integrity Sports, right? So yes, we will see you around. Thank you for your time, your expertise,
always,
and just being you. Thank you, Lou.
And tell JC hello. He witnessed one of the most amazing things outside Wrigley Field with me.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have to ask him about it.
He used to go there every year, and I went with him a couple times. It was a blast. All right, buddy. Good talking to you, and take care.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So
This
long.
is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Catch my breath.
thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know Window World is, I got to tell you, I love these guys. I love the fact that they're the official window of the St. Louis Blues. And I love the fact that they are the official window of so many home remodelers out there. I love the fact that they're one of 2 official windows that have the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. And I love the fact that Window World windows are simply the best, absolutely for less. These are double pane windows. And so the fact of the matter is, you're going to get not only durability, strength, the long-lasting nature of that double pane window, you're also going to get the insulation love that you deserve. So you're not cooling the outside or heating the outside when you have your furnaces or your air conditioner on. These windows are great. 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800. I'm so happy to have all the gang over there at Window World supporting free, common sense, conservative radio. Window World is absolutely a rock star. It's like a celebrity in the replacement window world, and I love these guys. By the way, they have a now financing plan that's 36 months, same as cash financing, with your approved credit, and I love it when I go into the showroom and they'll stand on one for me and show me just how strong these windows are. Window World, simply the best for less. 314-993-1800.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Attention gun owners, this is your last chance to enter to win the ultimate firearms adventure, the Gun Show's annual machine gun shoot and tank ride. The big St. Charles County Gun Show in May is your final opportunity to be entered into this exclusive drawing. Experience an unforgettable Saturday shooting machine guns and the thrill of riding an authentic military tank. It's all at the big St. Charles County Gun Show, May 16, 17, and 18. Your last chance to win the Gun Show's annual machine gun shoot and tank ride. Go to bkpromotions.us for more information.
Who doesn't love a good gyro? Soulard Gyro is the place to go. They're family owned and operated and been operating since 2009 and growing. 4 locations in O'Fallon, Maryland Heights, Wentzville, and Soulard. And they have gyros, rice bowls, salads, and wraps, Greek fries. I didn't even know that was a thing. So stop into one of their 4 locations. And if you need something catered, they can take care of that too. Soulard Gyro, SoulardGyro.com. Make authentic gyros great again.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Did Donald Trump and Republicans make everything great again over the weekend? We'll discuss with Senator Jim Talent at 425. At 525, Red State Headlines with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Well, I got a little tip-off from Janice. Thank you, Janice, that Dr. Fauci is going to be at Maryville University tomorrow. I wonder what time that is. Might be worth it to run him down there. And I mean run him down as in for questioning. Maybe come out of my reporter retirement, so to speak, and do what I usually do, which I was pretty good at, too. Waiting for them to either enter or leave and knowing exactly where they're going to be leaving from. And you just push a microphone in them and start talking. That's how we're going to do it. I'd ask him, I'd say, that's interesting. You have made approximately $3.5 million in the year after you retired from the U.S. government. That's interesting. We'll delve into that because I think the guy's crooked and everything else, and we'll dive into that one. And taxpayers, you're not paying for these dumb trips to El Salvador. That's good news, too.
#1 for live and local
conservative talk.
Every day, something new.
News, analysis, opinion.
Stand up for our democracy. Stand up for our Constitution. What matters is our national security and whether he's delivering on the promises of his campaign.
We as Americans are not going to lay down anymore. I, too, am sick of all of this illegal immigration.
The president, through trade and tariffs, is going to ensure again the American worker is put first.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game. It's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family's summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Hey, St. Louis, summer's on its way, and if your AC isn't ready, you could be in for a long, sweaty ride. This is Chris Arps, and before you crank up that air conditioner, you need to call my friends over at Elite Comfort Experts. Right now, they're offering an AC performance evaluation for just $79. Yeah, $79 to get you a full system check from your hometown comfort experts. No gimmicks, just guarantees. Call Elite Comfort Experts at 636-887-0971. Tell them Chris Arps sent you, or visit EliteComfortExperts.com.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of three places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now with Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The White House is extending its condolences following the death of Pope Francis.
President Trump wrote, "Rest in peace, Pope Francis. May God bless him and all who loved him." Vice President Vance met briefly with the Pope on Sunday to exchange Easter greetings. The 88-year-old Francis offered the Catholic Vice President 3 big chocolate Easter eggs for Vance's 3 young children. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told Fox News, "It's a solemn day for Catholics around the world."
White House correspondent Greg Cluxton. The Pope has died at age 88. Also at townhall.com, more severe weather expected in Oklahoma. That's after weekend storms left 3 people dead.
National Weather Service meteorologist in Norman, Oklahoma, Todd Lindley says tornadoes are expected in the region.
We're right at the front end of our peak severe weather season. Here in Oklahoma, we can get tornadoes pretty much any month of the year, but certainly as we get through April and into May, that's to be our climatological peak for severe weather.
Risks are expected through Wednesday in Oklahoma, and parts of Missouri and Illinois are expected to see some severe weather at least through tonight. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The U.S. government will attempt to break up Google as punishment for turning its search engine into a monopoly. The drama will unfold in a Washington, D.C. courtroom during the next 3 weeks. Luigi Mangione will be arraigned this week in a murder trial of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The 26-year-old is set to be arraigned on Friday. This after a federal grand jury in Manhattan returned a 4-count indictment against him. Mangione is being charged with murder, and that will make him eligible for the death penalty if convicted. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Financing a home, especially in today's market, is one of the biggest decisions you'll make for your family. Work with a mortgage company that puts you first. I do. Work with a lender founded on biblical principles like do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I do. It's Mike Gallagher for the only mortgage company I've used for almost a decade now when financing or refinancing Fellowship Home Loans. I'm friends with the owners, Mike and Brian. I even have them on my show occasionally. I know the care their team puts into every single customer. I can personally tell you that it's a smooth, stress-free process. And that's due to Fellowship's level of service and expertise that puts you in the right loan for your family and your goals. There's a reason Fellowship Home Loans is flooded with 5-star reviews. Whether purchasing a home or a cash-out refi to consolidate some higher interest debt, you can trust Fellowship Home Loans. Start the process. Make the call. 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Skies are clearing out, and it's going to be a nice sunny afternoon in St. Louis with a high temperature right around the 70-degree mark, which is just about the average for this time of year. Stays dry and mild tonight, but starts warming up beginning tomorrow. We'll be close to 80 tomorrow, and our next rain chance coming up in the middle of the week, probably around Thursday and Friday. We'll see some showers and storms. I'm KMOB First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Tony Colombo here for All Solutions Pest Control, the team Christine and I trust to protect our home. We've used multiple services at multiple homes over the years, and I can tell you from all that experience, All Solutions is second to none. If you have a pest problem of any kind, or more importantly, just want to prevent a problem, All Solutions is the team to call. Learn more and take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer right now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
News Talk STL.
First thing in the morning and pretty much all day.
Live and local. 1019 and 94.1. News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. The Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report. News Talk STL. JB Allman here. Mama Kay's asking about Scooter Van Duncan or whatever his name is. He used to be on the thing all the time. I don't know. He'll use sometimes in the morning, and I don't know where he's gotten to. Good guy, though. Fun guy. Funny guy. But nice to see you, Mama Kay. All right. So I did a little research on the Fauci appearance in St. Louis. I know that he is going to be at the Maryville University Speakers Series on October 7th. That's a long way away. I'm not quite sure why he'd come to Maryville before that, but that's interesting that he supposedly, according to Janice, he's coming into town tomorrow. So I don't know, to go to at Maryville. So we'll figure it out. There might be some more to it. In the meantime, as I told you before our break, in the year after he retired, this is the report at least, Fauci pulled in approximately $3.5 million. A lot of this is from, speaking and all this kind of stuff. This is a financial disclosure that was obtained by the government watchdog Open the Books.
And, we forget that he was the highest paid
already
individual in the government at over $400,000 a year. Is that right?
Absolutely. Dr. Fauci's assets soared during the worst of the COVID lockdowns. Families and small businesses struggled through all these school closures, lost income, everything else. And in the meantime, the Open the Books guy, he's CEO John Hart, he told the Daily Caller he was rubbing elbows with groups like AHP, flanked by taxpayer-funded security. Wife remained the top bioethicist at NIH. And you all remember, we talked about this earlier. You remember when she was talking to nurses and she goes, well, you have a choice, either get vaccinated or you're fired. And then they gave Mrs. Fauci a choice, which was either move to Alaska or you're fired. And I don't know what her decision was. Fauci received several six-figure deposits through 2023, totaling $1.15 million. And this, again, is a financial disclosure obtained by Open the Books. Can you believe this stuff? How insulting is this? As if Fauci couldn't be more detestable anyway. And even though those are the deposits, the documents don't describe the source of these deposits. So, I mean, my goodness, the things that we're finding out post Biden era, and literally the raping of our treasury and our budget and everything else, and these people all making bank, these lawmakers all becoming millionaires. This is despicable, people. This is crazy. It's totally unacceptable. And then we have, if you can imagine, people still worshiping Dr. Fauci. And I have to tell you, you know what this is, right? This is because America, at least a good almost half of it, are a bunch of non-contributing siphons to our budget, to our resources. They don't pay taxes. They don't have any stake in America. They don't really have any footing in America. You know, half the country doesn't pay taxes, right? Just so you know. So you can already lop those people off because they don't care about anything. They don't care which way the country goes. They don't care about the money we're spending. All they care about is making sure that they're getting all their benefits dropped to them. And these are benefits, by the way. I mean, Social Security, those kinds of things that they paid into. So I'm not blaming people for wanting an entitlement, but I'm talking about just the absolute waste of money. Because you know what? Half the country doesn't pay taxes, right? Doesn't pay income taxes, federal income taxes. And so half the country isn't like you and me working 2 days of our week solely to fund the government because they're not paying taxes. So they all think we're a bunch of whiners and everything else. And it just is we're at some point, I don't know what changes that. I don't want more people paying taxes. I want less people paying taxes. You know, I want a situation where we can get to a point where let's level the playing field. Let's us also have the luxury of not having to have the burden of working 2 days, even 1 day a week solely for the federal government. And that absolutely is the truth about it. There's no hyperbole there. There really is no exaggeration there. That is absolutely true. And when you think about it, but really, I think the biggest problem we have in this country is a whole slew of people who really don't have a stake in the success of the country because they don't have to care, because they don't pay anything anyway. And they'll even you know why you have a bunch of people on the internet and in the news business and other people who don't care if taxpayer dollars are funding the trips to El Salvador that these lawmakers are taking. The trips to El Salvador these lawmakers are taking. Van Hollen at one point asked the committee, a committee, to pay for his trip, and Comey said, "No, we're not paying for your trip, Comer. We're not paying for your trip down there. These other people are all asking the government to pay for their trip down there." It's funny how these people who claim to care so much about humanity and everything else don't want to pay for it. They don't want to have to pay for their airline ticket. I mean, we love Garcia and we're champions for human rights and everything else. Okay, well then $300 shouldn't be too much of an outlay for you. $500. Oh no, we don't want to pay for. We don't like him that much to pay for the trip ourselves. You know, it's crazy, and you know, it's also fruitless. Young Caroline was on Fox News and said he's not coming back. This isn't happening.
The president swore to the American public he was going to deport illegal criminals, and especially those who have been involved in violent gangs like MS-13 that have terrorized American communities. And so to the Democrat Party, who thinks that they are going to bring this foreign terrorist back to the United States of America to live a peaceful and happy life, that is never going to happen. Not only is this an MS-13 gang member, but he is also an illegal alien who broke our nation's laws to come here. And not only is it a slap in the face to the American citizens whose lives who have been put in danger or in many cases lost at the hands of these illegal alien criminal gang members, but it's also a slap in the face to the millions of legal immigrants who came to our country the right way, waited their turn, and paid their dues. We have a legal immigration system for a reason. The president is going to continue to uphold that.
Thank you. Check, please. Thank you. I'm ready. I'm good. I mean, this is just unbelievable. I mean, I can't figure out what these people really are doing. Like, how is it possible that they don't understand just how dumb this looks? I can't figure it out. I'm Stella, I'm not like a psychologist or anything, but it's so weird when you're watching people doing things and everything they're doing, there's no truth to what they are pursuing here. I just don't, and they don't even get it.
Yeah, from the first moment I heard Van Hollen was going down there, I thought, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then you and I progressed a little further. I think we talked about this a bit late last week, that, we're going to see other Democrats also trying to go down there.
Yeah.
And we're going to see essentially an influx of Democratic representatives trying to sway the American public because the media is on their side too. And no, I'm sorry, you guys are wrong.
Yeah, it's not even about due process or anything. And I can't figure out like why they're just simply denying this. So they're trying to create this hero out of this guy, and he just isn't. And his wife was asked a question on CBS News, like, did he ever hurt you? Whatever. And she goes, all I know is that he's alive. It's like, what does that mean?
That's not what I asked you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, that actually the anchor who what's his nuts from ABC or CBS, the guy who got talk like this, that guy, he didn't even follow up because, well, okay, then that was about it. So Van Hollen, actually, I made a mistake. I said that taxpayers did not pay for Van Hollen's trip. Well, he asked, and he confirms taxpayers did pay for that.
Who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared on a bipartisan basis. Yes, like every other trip.
interesting. You know, and it's so funny. These people all act so virtuous and claim that their trips and these journeys are taken because they're brave and standing up for people's rights. And then when it comes time to actually pay for the trips themselves, they don't want to do it. It just is. It's the craziest thing. And now apparently there are 4 others going down there. It's kind of like the Garcia is kind of becoming like the ice bucket challenge for the Democrat members of Congress. Like everybody is compelled and forced to do it and guilted into doing it. And I probably chose the wrong analogy because most people, I don't mean to crap all over a thing that was supposed to help people, but you realize that most people who did the ice bucket challenge weren't giving a dime to whatever charity that ice bucket challenge was for. Stell, did you do the ice bucket challenge?
I did not.
Yes. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
Like everybody was doing it on Facebook and everything else. And probably about maybe 10% of them were actually raising money. And maybe 10% of them actually knew what it was, like what it was for. Like, I don't even remember. It was a charity. It was a worthy cause, obviously. I can't remember exactly what it was for.
I want to say ALS, but I'm not sure if that's correct.
Maybe that is the case. But I'm not laughing at ALS. I'm just laughing because everybody felt compelled to do it. They had to kind of do it. They had to kind of rub the tummy of the Buddha, you know, to get safe passage through their internet. Thank you, Phyllis. Of course, Phyllis always knows this stuff. I don't know whether you're familiar with Phyllis Farwig, but if I ask a question out of the blue or I don't know who that was or what that was, Phyllis knows. She's the resident savant of the Allman show.
That's good to know.
I mean, literally every time there's some off the grid, innocuous question, there's Phyllis with the answer.
And what was her response?
ALS.
ALS.
You were right. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, what I was saying is though, these things become kind of a weird and really insincere rite of passage. And so the people going down to meet with this guy, you know, I mean, it's just he must think they're such fools. He's not going to say it because of course he's benefiting from it, whatever. And I still can't figure out if anybody can figure this out. So I can't figure out, did they really have margaritas or not?
It looked like they were sitting at a Breadco. You know, they were sitting around the table.
But they didn't.
And they get the margaritas show up later. Yeah.
I only saw the pictures with water. I only saw like things with water. Then I saw one picture that looked like it was kind of photoshopped. And it looked like it had like a water with a cherry in it or something. And that was supposed to be the margarita. I don't know whether they had margarita, but it doesn't matter. It's bad enough they went, and it's bad enough that it was taxpayer money that paid it. An official trip. Listen to this guy.
Who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared on a bipartisan basis. Yes, like every other trip.
Yeah.
He seemed a little nervous there answering to me.
Yeah.
He sounded like he was halting just a bit, trying to figure out, I better say the right words here.
Well, yeah, it was officially clear, officially a cleared trip. These guys are such piglets. They don't want to pay for anything, and they already don't have to really pay for anything anyway. They don't have to pay for gas. That's sometimes primarily the problem with a lot of politicians who haven't lived a real life most of the time, is they've never really had to pay for anything. They've never had to go to a grocery store and figure out, what should I get that's, this price or that price or what have you. And they never had to make those decisions as to whether or not, well, at this juncture, I'm going to have to, I like the mid-grade, but I'm going to have to do the 87 because I'm just trying to save, the 20 cents on the gallon, because they don't ever have to pay for gas. Food magically appears in front of them. And again, I have a lot of respect for our people. Okay, they're good people, but I've never really asked. I wonder, I don't think that members of Congress have to cook for themselves or anything. I don't think they do. I'll have to find that out. I don't think that they go home and make dinner. I think there's some kind of, I don't know. I don't think I certainly know they don't really pay for drinks, because I've been to, Ann Wagner, God love her, took me to the Undercroft. There's like a little place at the Capitol. It's like a little bar or something, like some kind of lounge. And I'll never forget, because I met John Boehner while I was there, and Boehner must have been drinking some wine, because he had the blue, the purple lips, and the purple teeth. It's like, and I don't know, Boehner was kind of known for that, because half the time Boehner was crying was probably because he was intoxicated.
That could be,
mean?
yeah.
Because you know how he cried all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a little bit of a lush.
But I think in some cases, congressional representatives who live close enough to D.C. have residential homes there, so they probably do go home most of the time. Whether their family even lives there or not, who knows? But if they have a home there, you're right. They could have somebody cooking for them at the home, or if they have folks who live there, great. But a lot of folks, you hear about them going back and forth on weekends.
Yeah. Some of them some of them sleep in their offices. I mean, it's not like being a House member isn't the most glorious position, but I guarantee you, let's just go up the food chain a little bit. I guarantee you people like Lindsey Graham, Nancy Pelosi, and all those people, Mitch McConnell, those people are going home and throwing something on the grill or in the pan or whatever. I mean, I know that. All right, my friends, this is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Happy to be with you on this Holy Monday.
You get a shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park. Meantime, sound of the river, you stop and you hold everything. A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Schneider's True Value Hardware. This is so cool. They've been in Old Town St. Peter's for more than 100 years. I mean, I don't really know any businesses that have been around for 100 years in the same place. I mean, that's old school, and you'll feel it when you go to Schneider's True Value Hardware right there in Old Town St. Peter's. Family owned and operated. Jerry Schneider is the guy you're going to see. Charlie's there too, and they've got a great staff, always super helpful to you. And if you are right now planning your garden, I mean, everybody's planning your garden, getting things ready for the springtime and the summertime and everything else, and you're looking to rake or do this kind of thing, and you need some tools, Schneider's True Value Hardware is there for you. Need some seeds, need some fertilizer, need some grass seed, whatever it happens to be, Schneider's True Value Hardware has it for you, and at excellent prices, I might add. I want to make sure you know that there really isn't these big box stores. There's this myth that somehow they're cheaper because they deal in higher volume. That is not true. Oftentimes these big box stores don't even have the kind of variety that you really want to have. So Schneider's True Value Hardware, they've got the still products, including sales, parts, and service on the still products, and also they offer a wide range of tools, products, and an expert advice, because these guys are great. It's old school there at Schneider's True Value Hardware, 100 years in Old Town St. Peter's. All you have to do is go to truevalue.com/Schneiders, truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Tim Jones here. Being a recovering lawyer, don't call me for your legal needs, but you should call Todd Sivia and the fine folks at Sivia Law. At Sivia Law, they'll help you through all of life's transitions, providing you with legal services in the areas of estate planning, elder law, special needs, real estate, personal injury, and much more. Locations across Western Illinois and Eastern Missouri, including right here in Creve Coeur and Wentzville. Call Sivia Law today for any and all of your legal needs. 833-995-WILL. SiviaLaw.com, SiviaLaw.com.
Hi, Sean Long from STL Fenceworks. A new fence or deck is an investment in your home and your lifestyle. But how do you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment? At STL Fenceworks, we know the key is satisfaction. Satisfaction means getting a fence or deck that not only meets your needs, but exceeds your expectations. Satisfaction means working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. Satisfaction means having confidence in the quality of your new fence or deck, knowing that it was built with the best of materials and workmanship. STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion. And for me, satisfaction is knowing that providing for your family is how I provide for mine. Visit stlfenceworks.com and experience the satisfaction in making your backyard dreams into a reality.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
You're listening to the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
You know, it's odd. It's gotten to the point where the media has resorted to just outright just lying about stuff and making things up and designing their own reality. And I don't know how sinister and cynical the national news media's process is. And it's not acceptable to just start making things up and lie about things in an effort to kind of push a certain narrative or even an outcome. Well, first of all, deal with CNN and MSNBC. They promoted this Maryland man lie, according to my friends over at Newsbusters, 506 times. And just referred to him as a Maryland man. Not an undocumented alien, not an undocumented immigrant, they're just Maryland man. And these guys, this is my daughter, Natalie, is reading George Orwell's 1984. And man, I most public schools, they go to private school. Most public schools, they're not reading George Orwell's 1984. You realize that's been taken off a lot of the syllabuses for students in junior high school or high school. And that's because you know what's going to happen, right? One kid is going to read George Orwell's 1984 and think that they're reading George Orwell's 2025.
Exactly.
And they don't want people onto what's really going on.
Wait a minute, I thought this was a fiction book. It looks like it's factual.
Yeah, because I guarantee you every chapter, I'm going to have to read it again because I should do a breakdown of it, because every chapter, when you're reading it, you literally, it's almost like you're reading real life. Like you're reading a newspaper or whatever, because it is everything. Animal Farm's not too dissimilar, where really in the end, it's about peasantry and serfdom, that we're currently, won't be for long, but we're currently living in right now. And was this bad? I was at Saturday's Easter Vigil, which is beautiful. And it is, and they told the story of Moses being directed to wave his hand over the sea so that the sea could be parted, so that the Israelites could flee Egypt. And then, and they of course knew, I think this is Isaiah, knew that the Egyptians would follow them, would chase them as they were fleeing Egypt under Moses's direction and God's enabling. And so they parted the sea, the Israelites fled, and then soon the Egyptians' chariots started chasing them through the dry land with the walls of water between them. And then it's almost like it's a cartoon, really. Then once the Israelites made safe passage, God said, Moses, wave your hand over the ocean again, over the sea again. And so the sea came together and basically drowned all the Egyptian chariots and everything else. And I do try to be more attentive to the moment in church and everything else. But I was thinking, man, I think that'd be great if we did that to all the left-wing crazies. We all made safe passage away from them. Just give us a little parted sea, and then we'll just put the sea back and never have to deal with them again.
Maybe we can do it with the Potomac River. We can all be on
yeah
on the one side. They come chasing
Yeah.
after us, and then as God opens up the Potomac River, we make it through, and then he shuts it.
Well, I don't think that it's too far-fetched. And again, please understand, I'm not trying to be blasphemous here. I'm not comparing Trump to Jesus or Trump to Moses or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, to a certain degree, if you want to do an analogy, I do believe that politically and culturally in some ways, that the sea has been parted for us so that we have safe passage into the future where we are unmolested and unenslaved by the powers that be, not dissimilar to the Israelites fleeing Egypt and getting away from the slavery of Egypt. And so, to a certain degree, I do believe that now's the time. Now's the time where we're able to kind of cut through the dry land of the sea that's been parted and make our escape now. And I do believe that ultimately, if it is right and just, I do believe that ultimately, if we go fast enough and we escape soon enough, that our enslavers and our enemies will be left to be consumed by reality, in this case, the sea, or in this case, reality. And I do believe that now is the time for us to make it or break it, make a run for it, and reclaim this country. How did I go to that area? Back to the news media and the constant lies that they tell. And I believe, honestly, it's evil. I really do. And when President Trump, he hasn't used that term lately, but when President Trump coined the term enemidia, I honestly think that is a real key term. I think it's true. Now, I've often said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't think that way really of the local medias, like our local media here in St. Louis. I mean, I think for the most part, as far as I can tell, the local media here in St. Louis is far different from the national media. And I think that's because they understand they're dealing with a really diverse group of viewers. And since they're closer to those viewers and listeners, they're hearing back from them more easily than an NBC News would hear, or ABC News would hear back from, or NPR. So I'm glad about that. There's an accountability factor there. And I think for the most part, local news is pretty good. And the people on local news, I mean, sometimes you're going to get a little janky with some local politics, whatever, but I just don't see really that problem locally as it is nationally. Wouldn't you agree, Stel?
I would disagree a little bit regarding Channel 5. I think Channel 5 leans liberal on quite a few stories, especially the Wash U situation with the transgender stuff going there. They seem to lean more into it than some of the other outlets. And I know you're not referring to the Post-Disgrace, but I would put the Post-Disgrace in there too. We all know how liberal the Post-Dispatch is. But I think on the TV side, I agree with you. I think most of them, especially most of the local reporters, are pretty fair on stories. But it just seems as though, to me, Channel 5 seems to lean at times towards the liberal side and say, oh, this is okay. Yeah, we'll cover these stories. We'll cover the protests. We'll cover the pro-Hamas stuff on a more definitive sense than the other stations.
That's
do.
interesting, because I mean, the anchors there, I know most of them, and they're not. I know
they're pretty much down the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would agree.
So anyway, these guys who continue to see, but these guys on the national level are basically just faking their way through stories that where they're desiring a certain outcome. So of course you get then this study by Newsbusters, Maryland Man. They use it They studied it. They actually counted 506 times.
Omar Abrego Garcia. He's a legal resident. He's a Maryland father. He's a green card holder, originally from El Salvador.
Like this man that had temporary protective status.
He had temporary protected status.
You know, they had someone who was lawfully in the United
Mr. Garcia, who is the Maryland father.
Garcia has lived and worked here legally. He had an active order that he could not be removed or deported.
Abrego Garcia, who is married to a U.S. citizen, was in the U.S. Lawfully.
They got the wrong guy. He was here legally and he's being treated like this. They made a mistake and just deported the wrong person, a Maryland father who was legally here. They sent the wrong person.
Garcia, a protected legal resident.
And he was legally present in the United States.
The Maryland man, a legal U.S. resident.
It's up to El Salvador's dictator to determine whether or not a legal U.S. resident gets to come back to the country.
Yeah. He's never coming back. And I don't understand why. I mean, because you have to imagine that even liberals, I mean, I'm telling you, I know liberals, but even liberals aren't this stupid.
It's almost as though they've been handed a template.
Yeah.
These are the talking points that you're going to work from over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. And then here's the other lie being told, and this is making the rounds as we speak. And I guarantee you turn on any of the national broadcasts, and here's the problem with it is they'll create a lie, and because like they're the New York Times, or because they're Politico, or because they're the Wall Street Journal, or because they're NPR, these people in other news outlets will quote them. And that's one thing that I guarantee you is bad journalism. I know this for a fact. I've been a journalist a long time. Legitimate sources are not other news organizations. Legitimate sources for news are not other news organizations. So I don't care whether it's Fox News or these others saying the Wall Street Journal is reporting or the New York Times is reporting. That's not an acceptable way of doing journalism. It absolutely is not. It's kind of like, we were always told as younger journalists, like when I was working at Channel 4, that things you hear on the scanner are not matters of fact. You do not like we use a police scanner and you might hear the police talking about something, whatever. You were forbidden from reporting what you heard on the scanner because that was not confirmed. You're overhearing it, and overhearing something is not a legitimate source and isn't a fact. We have an entirety in the news media of all they do is gossip and overhear each other, and they report whatever they're hearing or the gossip as news. So today, NPR put this out there. The White House has begun the process of looking for a new Secretary of Defense. I guarantee you that will be reported on the evening news tonight. And sources say, or word is, some say, whenever you hear those kinds of statements, you can tell they're making it up. Like when reporters ask questions, some say you are blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's not some say. That's people in your newsroom or at your little wine fest the other day talking. That's not some say. It's you should never even utilize that.
Anonymous sources report.
Yeah. I mean, and Hegseth, and by the way, I will tell you that that if President Trump winds up getting rid of Hegseth, I will be very, very, very disappointed. And the reason why I can say that is because I know that he won't. I know that Donald Trump will not get rid of Pete Hegseth. President Trump has the people he wants in place. President Trump has the loyalty to what he has earned with these people, unlike it was in his first term. And President Trump, of anything, is also a very loyal person. He's not loyal to the disloyal, that's for sure. And the minute you cross him in terms of being disloyal to him, he will smoke you, and rightly so. That's as far as I'm concerned. That's a proper, perfect way to deal with people. And you are either with me or you are against me. I don't think that's a bad way to go. There are some things that you got to be careful about, when it's talking about world affairs or, these kinds of things. You have to, I'm sure he has a cabinet for a reason. That's because he wants input from these individuals, and President Trump does listen. But anyway, the bottom line is if somehow Hegseth leaves or what have you, I will be very disappointed. Hegseth at the Easter festivities was like, this is all fake.
What a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax.
And the same media, by the way, that took the leaks. So the media, so Hegseth fires these people who betrayed him and the country. He fires them, and then the news media now has this little spigot of information cut off, and they're so angry that they're going to decide to do stories about how now it's Hegseth who's on the way out. It's like complete lunacy.
Won't get back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies and on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people.
I wish Hegseth would just take a pause and say, "Hey, can you shut up with the horn for a second? I'm talking."
And ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know it, we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No.
Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
Yeah. No more questions from all the hens in the news media. That's Pete Hegseth, accompanied by Miles Davis. It was great. I think he's the best secretary since Don Rumsfeld when it comes to the media. Because Rumsfeld had very little patience for the media. It was always a gas watching him at news conferences.
And Hegseth has had to fight this since the moment he was even mentioned as a possibility for the job.
Right. Their biggest beef is that he didn't have experience. Uh-huh. All right. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
And every word that I say is true. You got me running and hiding all over town. You got me sneaking in a beat and running you down. This can't go on. Lord knows you got me changed.
What happens next?
Because of that Afghanistan withdrawal, we have damaged our credibility.
Happens right here.
He was texting war plans.
Nobody was texting war plans.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
The Gemini Wealth Group, ladies and gentlemen. I know. What were you thinking that when you talk about the news media, they're going to tell you you're never going to be able to retire now because your whole portfolio's dried up because of Orange Man bad. That's not the case. Everything is cool. You're going to be able to get the help from the Gemini Wealth Group to make sure that your portfolio is fine even under any circumstances. And one of the things you really need to do is make sure that you are diversified. Make sure that you have been making longer term decisions, not shorter ones. Make sure that you are in a situation where you are adequately beefed up your portfolio. And also make sure that you have all the things that you're going to have to deal with when you do retire, because the chances are pretty good you live 20, 30 years after you retire. Are you going to be able to stretch that money out enough so that you're living comfortably? What are your tax liabilities? What are your healthcare liabilities? And you're thinking, well, I don't know any of that. Well, guess what? Jeff Portman at Gemini Wealth Group can help you through that. His team is fantastic. You can contact Jeff directly at 314-888-0123, 314-888-0123, or go to GeminiWealthGroup.com, GeminiWealthGroup.com. These guys will help you. These guys will give you peace of mind, and you deserve it. You've been working hard, and now you want to kind of coast a little bit, but you got to make sure that you're coasting with confidence, and you'll do that with the Gemini Wealth Group. GeminiWealthGroup.com. That's GeminiWealthGroup.com.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
With Larry Connors USA, you get news, opinion, analysis, and an education with each program.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
And then now there are 4 other Democrat congresspeople who are firmly in El Salvador now. It's so interesting. And, I will tell you, it's because I guarantee you back in the old days, I've told this story before, so I want to bore you with it. But, I went to Colombia last May for a wedding, and it is a totally changed environment in Colombia. We took a bus from Bogota like for 2 hours up to a resort where the wedding was. And 10 years ago, I'll do 20. 20 years ago, you couldn't do that without getting shot, attacked by terrorists or what have you. And it's totally been transformed. El Salvador's the same way. El Salvador now is a preferred location for surfers. The surfing in El Salvador on the El Salvador beaches apparently is amazing. But that's because of the leadership initially kicked in by Donald Trump back in 2016 even, where through the process of American help and everything else, and I think Obama, oddly enough, might have been a little part of that too in kicking that in, but nonetheless, it's a peaceful place thanks to peace through strength and everything basically that is Make America Great Again related. And so otherwise, these people would never be able to safely go to El Salvador to begin with. And so, they don't see that connection at all. And so they're luxury traveling now and everything else. By the way, this Joe Biden thing is really weird. So I wish that they didn't do things that were so weird because it's like, can't you do anything just normally without doing something that casts suspicion over what's going on? Like, is Joe Biden even alive? So he takes this Easter picture, or he didn't take it. It was actually released by the Biden family. And it's an odd photo. First of all, Biden posted, this is on X. He says, we wish everyone celebrating today a peaceful and joyful Easter. And he shared this family photo, and he's kind of in the background. And if you look at the photo, I don't know whether you guys have or not. And by the way, it's funny how can't you say like Blessed Easter or something? Why do people at least on the Democrat side always pretend that there's not a religious element to these holidays? I mean, they act like Easter is just kind of like a day of bunnies and candy
and transvisibility. Remember last year?
Yeah. I mean, but they do it with Christmas too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they just kind of act like Christmas just kind of fell out of the sky. And some of them won't even do it. They'll say Merry Xmas or something, or Thanksgiving. I don't know how many times, and I'm not a prude about this, but when someone says Happy Turkey Day, it drives me nuts.
But in the case of Christmas, what did we hear from the government? Literally, probably all 4 years that Biden was in office, it was Happy Holidays.
Happy Holidays, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry. There is a strong religious significance to this day. It's the birth of our Savior.
Yeah. And Thanksgiving's the same way. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving is absolutely religious.
Who are we giving thanks to? Oh, I don't know. Some being somewhere. No, it's the creator of the universe.
Yeah. And it's not thank you, New York Times, because truth dies in darkness. It's not that. So anyway, he posts this image, and it looks like he's photoshopped in the picture. Did you see the picture, Stel?
I did not.
Okay, so look at it. It looks like, I'm telling you, it absolutely looks like he's photoshopped into the picture. Because it's the picture, and then it's Biden with a tie on and a coat and tie on, and it looks like he's kind of in the background there, but it's absolutely photoshopped. Unless, because honestly, you'd have to assume, because he's at the top of the stairs, right? You'd have to assume that Joe Biden is on his knees getting this picture taken. Because he's only about, his head is only about 3 or 4 inches above the people sitting on the back step. So it looks like they took like this cutout, this picture of him standing there, and then they just photoshopped it in there, because otherwise you'd have to assume that Biden got this picture taken when he was on his knees.
I would not be surprised if you're right about that.
I mean, because there's like a hole in the porch where he's standing, and it's because his waist basically is even with the top stair. I mean, it's so it's clearly, this was clearly Photoshop, because I wouldn't imagine that Biden ever really gets on his knees. You know what I mean? He's too old for that kind of stuff. But maybe he was. But if you look at it, it's like so totally Photoshop. It's not even funny. It's great. And then on top of that, President Trump never misses a beat. So at the Easter thing, he's remember when the Easter bunny ran into Biden, took him out,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you remember the bunny with Joe Biden? Remember? Do you remember when the bunny took Joe Biden out? He's not taking Trump out. Anyway, that was a beautiful moment when the bunny saved Joe Biden.
I love it when President Trump is 15, as you guys all know, and he just never misses a beat. And I went by was it Saturday or Friday? Maybe it was Friday. It was with the Missouri Athletic Club, and it was like a visit from the Easter Bunny at the Missouri Athletic Club. This bunny looked like it was like a skinny, emaciated, starved bunny. Aren't bunnies supposed to be like plump and not look like stick figures?
Yes, exactly.
Well, no offense, Easter Bunny. I'm sorry about that, but it looks like you too skinny. Need to eat more carrots, but just don't eat my vegetables. That's all I'm telling you. All right. Stel Ponticus, thank you so much. You guys, thank you for listening to the Allman Report. Have a great and blessed rest of your Easter Monday.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success